Hello, and welcome to another ICA ChiroCast edition of the Sports Council. Those of you who know me, I'm Brant Hulsebus. I am a member of the ICA Sports and Fitness Science Council Board, and I practice here in Rockford, Illinois. And today I am joined by Ray Kolek. Did I say that right?
No, it's Kociolek.
Kociolek. We practiced that before, and I got busy giving instructions. So Kociolek, I apologize about that. So, Dr. Ray, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit who you are, where you practice, and maybe why you became a chiropractor?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm Dr. Ray Kociolek. I practice in Louisville, Kentucky. Been in practice since 2019. Chiropractic is my second career. I was actually an athletic trainer before this, and transitioned to chiropractic after a really good it was ultimately just a really good long conversation with a chiropractor that we were unofficially working with at the school I was at, and realized that the general idea of chiropractic, allowing the body to naturally work within itself and allow it to heal itself, was generally my treatment philosophy to begin with. And it just kind of became a natural progression in through there. So yeah, that's it's pretty basic. No-
All right, that's all right. So you probably found a neat way to incorporate your athletic training into chiropractic care as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. So with athletic training, we are trained traditionally medical. Athletic trainers, as you know, working with the Ice Hogs, we're a weird combination of EMT, physical therapist, orthopedist, psychologist. I mean, it's a weird kind of hodgepodge profession, and being able to do all those different things already, and then transition to chiropractic, it was a much easier transition, but hard at the same time, just because I'm trained traditionally medical. For a long time, I was really against subluxation only, just simply because I had all of these other things already that I was doing. And even when I was going through Palmer, I went to Palmer College in Davenport. Even when I was going through there, I still found myself wanting to do, rehab and taping and all this other stuff, which I still do in my practice. But that was where I was leaning towards even before thinking adjusting as the main thing.
Absolutely. Though
That,
I have a subluxation-based chiropractic clinic, but I still do podcasts. So you are able to switch hats from time to time, correct?
oh, absolutely. I was just beginning of March, I was at the Arnold Classic, where Dr. Todd was working with the pro strongman. I was working with what we now call the pro am, used to be called the Arnold Amateur. I was working as their medical lead. I was both their chiropractor and their head athletic trainer. So I had an MD, a DO, a massage therapist, all with me. Like I did everything from MSK ultrasound with them. We did some stitches. Like I personally did stitches on somebody, injury evaluations, everything from your model of muscle sprains to making the decision to send somebody to the ER who had a quad tear. So, and everything you can of in between. So, switching hats literally in seconds is kind of become a talent.
You and I first met at Palmer College many years ago, but I know that you're
Yep.
really good friends with Dr. Todd McDougall. So how did you come
Yep.
across Dr. McDougall?
So that's a fun story. So I was practicing at the time in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So about hour and a half south of where I am right now. And I was working out at a gym, and the gym knew I was a chiropractor, and I was just starting to get into strongman for myself, just as like an athlete. And a local promoter who also happened to store all of his stuff at the gym shot me a message. It was a week before a contest he was hosting that was in the same town, saying that his chiropractor he normally uses for his contest couldn't come. And then Dr. Todd wasn't available. And so I said I would come. It was on, I didn't have anything else to do. Decided that strongman would be fun. And went that Saturday and showed up in this livestock show arena, and met people that are still friends now. Met a bunch of athletes. One of the athletes who was there has been my coach for several years. But I met a massage therapist who we all in the strongman world lovingly call Mama Becky. We know Becky well. And then also an athletic trainer named John Penley. And they introduced me to Todd because at the time, Dr. Todd was dealing with some injuries himself and was also, kind of realizing he can't be the only one anymore. And they convinced him to call me, and then he asked me to come up to it was USS Nationals in Minneapolis. And we had talked randomly. Like I had sent him a text earlier, and like a year before, like asking, "Hey, can I come shadow you at a contest?" And that just never worked out. But he asked me to come to USS Nationals and help him out because at the time he was dealing with, some orthopedic issues, whatever other issue he has. And I just kind of fell in love with working the sport. And then, we talked for hours at that. And then, that one contest turned into two and turned into three, which is now turned into. I was texting him this morning. So it's that's how that kind of turned into. And I really, when I graduated from Palmer, I was thinking I was going to be like, working your traditional sports, your football, your basketball, things like that, which I still do a lot of. I do consulting work for Western Kentucky University, primarily with their basketball teams. And, I work with some like local high school for their football and whatnot. I do some athletic training work for a local hospital system right now as well, covering like youth events. But I never saw myself going into strength sports as my niche. And it kind of just became, more less of work and more of just lifting heavy stuff with my friends and watching them lift heavy things and, fixing them when they break themselves. And
I,
it blossomed into this weird hodgepodge of stuff.
on ice skates the first time in my life, and I was 31. So I understand about how you don't necessarily know where you're going to start and where you're going to end up. And I want to talk a
Right?
little bit about what we learned when I was studying with Dr. McDougall and you guys up in Madison, Wisconsin, because I had a unique opportunity just recently. We had the All-Star game here in Rockford, Illinois for the AHL, and we had a captain. His name was Christopher Stieg. And Christopher Stieg is a two-time Stanley Cup champion with the Blackhawks. And I got to take care of him in his early career when he was an ice hog. He told me that when I would adjust him, he'd like it, he'd feel looser, this and that, and he'd feel like some of his range of motion would improve, but he didn't feel stronger on the ice after I adjusted him. He actually told me after his time with me, went to a different team, that he would never get adjusted on game day because he felt like he didn't have what he needed. Then he was watching me take care of the athletes today after spending a weekend with you guys, and he got a little jealous about what we were doing. You want to kind of briefly discuss what I'm talking about here, the different kind of technique?
Yeah, so the McDougall chiropractic method is a very different beast. Where as chiropractors, we can pretty well take care of 99% of people out there. And but the difference, I think that where Dr. Todd's technique kind of lied, why I liked it, and why I drew to it initially was because it allowed me to take care of the athlete, not just before the meet or the game or whatever, but it was able to work within it. And because we all know that, when you do a traditional adjustment, whatever, cervical diversified, side posture, whatever, insert technique here, you end up defacilitating a lot of those mechanoreceptors. And you get this kind of calming of the nervous system. Where in strength sports, whether it be strongman, powerlifting, CrossFit, even bodybuilding, when on their show day, you really don't want that. Todd used the example in his book that he references all the time. You don't want to adjust somebody's side posture, just using that as the example, and then put them under 1,000-pound yoke. That's asking for something bad to happen because you've now defacilitated everything, relaxed everything, and now they have to get maximal tension when you've already just taken away their tension. So a lot of times, what we'll do on contest day is the way that I explain it to the athlete. Because most of them, when they come to a strongman cons, most of them have had some kind of chiropractic care or massage care or something. And when I explained it to them and said, look, we are taking away tension to a point. I can't take away all of it because now I'm asking you to get hurt. Whether that is a yoke, a deadlift, a log, a stone, whatever, you have to have tension. And as a strongman athlete myself, I can tell them you have to have that tension. And if I take away just a hair too much, you're going to get hurt or you're going to fail the lift. And when you're talking about athletes like at the Arnold, that's a world championship, or nationals, that's a pro card, or even just your local show who somebody is trying to do something cool. You're taking that away from them. And then you get the cascade of things of, oh, chiropractic doesn't work. I don't, don't go see them. Don't you it creates this cascade of things. And what I found with Dr. Todd's technique is that it takes away enough to where they feel like they can move. It leaves just enough to where they can do what they have to do. But the bigger part is it allows the neural drive to still happen, which in maximal lift sports or in repetition sports, neural drive is everything. And that's the simple part right there is that's why that technique works so different,
You
especially on
remind
game
me
day.
of
And
a
then,
so you remind me of a
no, go
lesson I
ahead.
learned. Chiropractic always works. It's just the application that doesn't always work. And you're giving a classic example of chiropractic always works. It's just the application, how you have to modify your application to meet the person on your table's current demands and what they're about to do to their body.
Yeah. And that's, I think it was Gonstead who said it best. Chiropractic always works. You have to look at the chiropractor as if something's not working.
Science is the science. Now, as a new member to our ICA Sports and Fitness Science Council board, where do you hope to see our direction, our board to go? Where do you hope to contribute and see change in the world of sports and fitness science chiropractic?
Yeah. So I have a couple different thoughts with this. I actually had a meeting yesterday he's one of the deans with Campbellsville University School of Chiropractic. And it was probably a 2 hour conversation about this whole thing, about where do we see this going? What can we do? And the biggest thing is, just from his data set, he's seeing about 40 to 50% of his male students and then about 20 to 30% of his female students come into chiropractic college wanting to do sports, period. And then, him and his teachers can do their best to give them the information. They're teaching chiropractic students how to be chiropractors, right? You got to learn, you got to pass the boards, do all the things. But it's the talking heads they see, like kind of like how you and I are doing right now, that they'll see one that they like what they say and they latch onto it. But as we know in the world today with all your different social medias and everybody has an opinion and they voice it loudly, the ones they're following aren't keeping chiropractic the main thing. Just like how I said before, even when I was in chiropractic school, I started looking at sports and rehab being the main one. And then through some soul searching, some conversations, I found, well, I can still do this stuff, but the adjustment still has to be the centric thing. So first up, I see we have to bring that to be the thing. The adjustment is the main thing, and then you've got all this other cool stuff that can happen. They all complement that. So that's number one. The second one is I really want to see sports chiropractors being chiropractors again. We're I'm seeing this big push, both with some people that I've worked with and friends of mine. Like I have a friend who says he's a sports chiropractor that says he's adjusted 3 people this year, and it's April. That's a problem. So, and I told him like, dude, massage therapy school is a heck of a lot cheaper, and he knows who he is, so I can say that. And I don't want to see us fall in that. Yeah, we can modernize, we can evolve, we can say, oh, that really didn't work, we probably shouldn't do that, whatever that thing is, and get rid of it and say, hey, look at this cool other thing we found. that also complements what we do. That is perfectly fine. That's a natural progression. But I don't want to see that thing we get rid of be the chiropractic adjustment. That's my main goal. And that has been my goal. Like I was a student rep for the ICA when I was in at Palmer, but at the same time I was also president of the sports club, sports council at Palmer. And this kind of mentality that I have and talking to you about right now started then because I saw it in that sports council of I wasn't allowed to talk about adjusting in the sports council meetings, which ultimately led me to not being president anymore. So I saw that as a problem. And that's kind of been my mission this whole time in this, what, 7 years I've been out of school, is to somehow find a way to bring that.
I know chiropractors that are sports chiropractors that only do ART. They never done an adjustment. And then when they see me, the athletes get all confused. Wait, I thought you guys do
Oh, yeah.
this. And I like ART. I think after you get somebody adjusted doing the ART is good, but I never would go to a dentist who wouldn't look at my teeth. I would never go to a chiropractor that wouldn't adjust my spine first.
Right. Yeah. And, sometimes people I get patients in my practice all the time. I had one on Thursday who came as me as a new patient. Their family's traveling here from Canada. And they came into my office and they were amazed. I had an x ray machine, I had multiple adjusting tables, I did an exam, I have some rehab equipment in there, basic rehab equipment, but rehab equipment nonetheless, like your old Pettibon stuff. And they were amazed that it wasn't just a table in a corner. And like, oh, what are those? What's that table doing? I have two drop tables. They'd never seen one before. They thought it was just like a massage table like you would buy on Amazon. And so they were just amazed that this is all I had. She goes, I thought chiropractors were X. And, that they just came in, popped, and you left. No, this person just spent an hour with me or in my office doing the exam and x-rays and all the things, and then left feeling better than they ever have. So that's the thing, is why is there this?
Well, as we wrap it up here, I always give my guests the microphone for any last thing that we didn't talk about that you wanted to discuss. So this is me passing you the mic.
That's a terrifying thing mostly for people who watch this. But I think I've kind of said the whole time is that we need to keep chiropractic the main thing. You know, whether you call it whatever you call it, if you call it subluxation based, if you call it adjustment based, whatever you want to call it, the words don't matter. Is that we all went to school to be chiropractors. Let's keep being that. And why are we trying to add all these extra things in there? And because there's nothing wrong with knowing about nutrition. There's nothing wrong about knowing about rehabilitation or radiology. One of my best friends from chiropractic school is a radiologist out at Parker. Like these are all fantastic things, but we are chiropractors first. And it's when we start getting away from that is what we're kind of already seeing is that we're getting less and less respect, paid less and less, and then ultimately we are confusing the general population. And that's kind of my goal, overarching, and that's what I want to spread to the world.
Fantastic. Well, you're going to see a lot more Dr. Ray in our podcasting and in the future as he's become a new member of our board. And moving forward, I know that you're going to see us down at Life Extravaganza coming up this September. We're going to be down there. And then we got big things, big things planned for the upcoming 2027, where we finally put everything that we've been talking about all together for one giant weekend for everybody. So, Dr. Ray, I want to thank you. Two reasons. One, for keeping chiropractic first, and two, for helping us out on our board. We appreciate you. Thank you for being the podcast, too.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Right. Well, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it. If you go to our website, chiropractic.org, the ICA site, you can find our council. We have many other podcasts up there. We've been doing this for more than 2 years now. So we hope to see you more in the future. So like and subscribe, and thanks everybody.